Am I the antagonist for replacing my maid of honor? I am getting married, and my bachelorette party is being planned by my best friend Katie. Although I haven't officially asked her to be my maid of honor, it was assumed because we've been friends since kindergarten and have always talked about this. Before meeting my fiancé, we used to have quite a party lifestyle, and Katie joked that this would be our last hurrah. We were discussing the guest list for the bachelorette, and I mentioned that I wanted to invite my mother-in-law and my fiancé's brother's wives, which would add 3 more people. I informed Katie that I had already told them they were invited. However, Katie expressed that she didn't want them to attend because the activities wouldn't be suitable. I reassured her that it was fine and suggested finding alternative plans. I also promised to reimburse her for any deposits or cancellation fees incurred if anyone had already made arrangements. After some arguing, Katie claimed that I was taking her efforts for granted and declared that she was done. Uncertain if she said this out of anger, which is typical for her, I called one of my future sister-in-laws, Jess, to vent. Jess offered to come over and we agreed to figure things out together. Jess contacted my other future sister-in-law, Ashley, and they both came over with my mother-in-law. We quickly planned a whole new bachelorette party within a few hours. I'm actually really excited for it. They truly saved the day. Later, I discussed the situation with my fiancé, asking if it would be strange to ask both future sisters-in-law to be my maid of honors instead. They were already going to be bridesmaids, and their husbands are my fiancé's best men. To my delight, my fiancé thought it was a great idea and believed it would strengthen our bond. The next day, I officially asked them both at a family dinner, in front of my in-laws, fiancé, his brothers, and some extended family. We all shed tears as none of us have sisters, and we joked about finally having them. My future sisters-in-law posted pictures on social media, captioning it all the insert last name, girls. We can't wait to spend this special day with our newest sister. When Katie saw this, she became upset, accusing me of replacing her and disregarding her feelings. She claimed that I was throwing away our friendship for girls who hadn't been there for me for my whole life. She couldn't understand how I could replace her role within 24 hours on the most important day of my life. Katie even commented on the post, saying the betrayal. Katie is making me feel like a terrible person. However, my fiancé believes she is overreacting and advises me not to worry about it. I just want an unbiased opinion. So, am I the asshole? It's understandable that Katie might feel hurt and replaced, but ultimately, it was her decision to back out of planning the bachelorette party after you made a reasonable request to include your future sister-in-laws. You found a solution with the help of your future family, and it's great that you're excited about the new plans. Asking your future sister-in-laws to be your maid of honors was a thoughtful gesture, and it seems like your fiancé and his family are supportive of that decision. It's unfortunate that Katie reacted so negatively, but it's important to prioritize your own happiness and the bonds you're forming with your future family members. Am I the antagonist for telling my boyfriend he deserved to get humbled? I am an 18-year-old female and my boyfriend is a 19-year-old male. We have been dating since we started college in October 2021. Over the past 8 months, my boyfriend has developed a strong interest in UFC, mixed martial arts. He wakes up at 3 a.m. to watch fights and often engages in play fights with his friends, one of whom is particularly relevant to this situation, referred to as S. We used to have a large group of friends, and although we graduated in the summer, we have managed to stay in touch until now. These play fights, or spars as my boyfriend calls them, were initially all in good fun. However, they gave my boyfriend the impression that he could actually fight because S, who claims to do MMA, told him he was naturally talented. This led to a significant increase in his ego, and he expressed a desire to have a real fight. One of our other friends had a dad who owned a gym with a ring and offered to let my boyfriend fight there, although I'm unsure if it was legal. S suggested a guy named A for my boyfriend to fight. A and S were friends, although not particularly close, and I knew it because we used to sit next to each other in class. S said he would try to contact A, and shockingly, A agreed to fight my boyfriend. When A agreed, I voiced my concerns to my boyfriend multiple times, but he didn't listen. O was a quiet guy, but as we sat next to each other for a year, I knew more about him than others did. He was one of those traditionally masculine individuals in a physical sense. He worked out 6 days a week, participated in horseback riding and archery, and owned large dogs. Despite his intimidating appearance, he was actually a nerdy and friendly guy. My boyfriend didn't like A or A's friends, and the same sentiment was shared by the rest of our group of friends. I always questioned my boyfriend about this, as A had never even spoken to him. My boyfriend used to claim that I was arrogant and thought he was good-looking, which led to numerous arguments between us. I couldn't understand why my boyfriend cared about other women finding A attractive when he had me. No one knew for certain if it could fight, but mentioned that he had some training in martial arts. Leading up to the fight, my boyfriend behaved very childishly. He would constantly insult A in a group chat that was created specifically for this purpose, but rarely opened the messages, and I don't think he ever responded. When the fight finally took place, it was clear from the beginning that there could only be one outcome. A was visibly taller than my boyfriend and had clearly become more muscular. In addition to that, it turned out that he could indeed fight. My boyfriend lost within approximately 90 seconds. After the fight, I didn't bother consoling my boyfriend. Instead, I criticized him because I had expressed my concerns multiple times, and he chose to ignore me. He accused me of being an asshole for not offering him unconditional support if I truly loved him. Now he won't speak to me because he feels I embarrassed him in front of his friends when he was vulnerable. Part of me feels guilty, but I also believe that he needed to hear the truth. Was I in the wrong here? You expressed concern to your boyfriend multiple times about his decision to have a fight, but he didn't listen and went through with it anyway. Your concerns were valid, considering your knowledge of the other guy's physical capabilities and your boyfriend's lack of experience. After your boyfriend lost the fight, you did not console him, but rather berated him. While it's understandable that you were frustrated because he ignored your advice, it might have been more helpful to approach the situation with empathy and support instead. However, this does not make you the a-hole. Your boyfriend's accusation that you embarrassed him in front of his friends while he was vulnerable is not entirely fair. It seems he is deflecting responsibility for his own actions onto you. Ultimately, he made the choice to fight and face the consequences. It is reasonable for you to express your concerns and disappointment when your warnings went unheeded. Communication is important in any relationship, so it would be beneficial for both of you to have an open and honest conversation about this situation. Am I the antagonist for telling my husband that things only end up fine because he waits for other people to figure it out for him? My husband is an educator. He's been a substitute teacher for 5 years now. It was supposed to be temporary, but it has turned into a long-term situation that is expensive and unstable. He has no retirement savings and I pay for all the benefits through my job. I have been asking for him to apply for a permanent position for years so that we can have more stability and alleviate the financial burden with prices increasing. He has only applied to 2 or 3 positions in the past few years, but he didn't get hired. Recently, he was offered an interview for a long-term assignment that he's well qualified for, and he got the position. He believes it might become permanent, although there is no contract yet. The issue. Today my husband mentioned that he doesn't have any job assignments scheduled after Monday. It's currently Saturday. I asked him what his plan was if his assignment isn't extended. At first, he didn't respond. I asked again a while later, but he told me not to worry and trust him. I replied that his words didn't make me feel better, and he immediately became defensive as if I was wrong for asking for a concrete plan. I tried asking in a different way, questioning how many times they extended this assignment before. He said it had been extended 4 times. I then asked how much notice they had given him for the previous extensions. He mumbled something I couldn't quite understand, so I followed up with, was it only 2 days? He snapped back, I don't know because why should I care? I didn't know how to respond, but I was really upset. I asked him why he was being defensive, and he denied it. I calmly explained that as his wife, it was reasonable for me to ask about his plan, and it was a reasonable expectation for him to respond. He said he regretted bringing it up and didn't want to discuss it anymore. I started crying, telling him he was being defensive and questioning why I should trust him when he says things will be fine. I said, it's situations like these that end up making me feel bad. He left for a while, I cried, and he came back. He told me he loved me, but I told him that right now, I love you wasn't enough. He reassured me that I didn't need to worry because everything would be okay. This is probably why I'm the asshole, but I said, your idea of everything being okay is someone else figuring it out for you. I probably shouldn't have said that. I'm trying really hard to maintain emotional stability, but the lack of communication and forethought trigger me. It feels unreliable. It is understandable that you are concerned about the lack of stability and financial planning in your husband's career as an educator. As his spouse, it is reasonable for you to ask about his plans and expectations for the future, especially considering your shared financial responsibilities. Your husband's defensive and dismissive reaction to your questions is not appropriate. Communication and planning are essential in a partnership, and it is important for both of you to be open and transparent about your concerns and expectations. While it may not have been ideal to make the comment about someone else figuring it out for him, it seems to be a response to your frustration and feelings of being let down by his lack of action in finding a more stable position. It is important to address these issues and have an open conversation about your concerns, financial goals, and long-term plans as a couple. Am I the antagonist for telling my sister to dump her boyfriend? My 20-year-old sister, who we'll call Fiona, is currently mad at me. We're pretty close. Even though we're technically step-siblings, we usually just say we're brother and sister, and our parents have been married for 5 years. We pretty much always feel comfortable talking to each other, even in a blunt way. I'm always honest with her and vice versa. Now, Fiona has been with a guy, Jack, for a while, and they see each other once every couple weeks. We live pretty close to him, and both of them have cars, so they could see each other a lot more often. They just choose not to. When they are together, they don't seem to talk or interact much. They just cuddle and scroll on their phones or something. Fiona doesn't mind this at all. Since it started in high school, she doesn't view their relationship as a big deal, and has said that she doesn't think it'll be a permanent thing. Jack, on the other hand, is very affectionate with her, and the few times I've talked to him one-on-one, he seems to take their relationship pretty seriously and wants things to keep going for a long time. To me, at least, it's pretty clear that they want different things, and that Jack likes her much more than she likes him. Worsening matters is the fact that Fiona has a guy best friend, Liam, who she spends way more time with. Even though I know there isn't anything going on between them, both of them are very honest, loyal people. Neither of them would ever cheat. Jack is too polite to say anything about it, but when all three of them are in the same room, it's very uncomfortable. She and Liam share way more interests, so he usually takes up the bulk of her attention, even when Jack is right next to her. And again, while there isn't any cheating going on, Liam does have feelings for her. Fiona doesn't know this, I heard from a shared friend. And that makes things a lot harder for both him and Jack. Recently, Fiona came to me and said that Jack had broken down and said that it felt like she didn't care about him. She seemed genuinely upset and kind of bewildered when I said that yeah, that's kind of how it seems from the outside. Now here's where I might be the antagonist. I said she should dump him since she's hurting Jack, and they don't seem to have a future together. She told me I was reading too much into the situation and that the Liam thing was a non-issue. I said it was still cruel for her to stay with Jack when he wants something long-term, and she doesn't. But she said she does like Jack. She just doesn't think relationships should be serious at our age. We got in a pretty big argument, and she's been cold-shouldering me for a couple of days. I feel bad that I've made her upset, but also, I don't think her relationship is good for anyone involved. Should I have just kept my mouth shut and not weighed in? Am I the antagonist? It's understandable that you care about your sister and want what's best for her, especially since you have observed that her relationship with Jack seems unbalanced. You expressed your concerns to her in a genuine way, and it's important to offer your perspective as a supportive sibling. While your sister may not view her relationship with Jack as serious, it seems like Jack's feelings are much stronger. It's reasonable to suggest that she consider ending the relationship since they want different things, and it's causing discomfort for everyone involved. However, it's also important to respect your sister's perspective and her right to make her own decisions, even if you disagree with them. It might have been more effective to have an open conversation with her about your concerns instead of outright suggesting she should dump him. In the end, it's up to your sister to determine the course of her own relationship. As long as you approach the situation with empathy and understanding, while still asserting your concerns, it's fair to offer your opinion.